What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you for tuning in. Excited for chat number 2 of Best Served Fireside, which is a collaboration between Best Served and Fireside at 5. Gabby is here, is going to tell us a little bit more about that in a minute. I want to give you a little overarching picture of what we're going to do, introduce our guests. We're going to talk a lot about restaurant operations, the budget, P&L, marketing, all of it, distill that down into some of the new thinking, specific tactics and deployments that our panel is utilizing. First, let me introduce everybody. Kendra Anderson, owner of Cabana X at Bar Helix in Denver, Colorado. Thank you for being here. Yumi Tran with Indochine down in Parker, co-owner, executive chef there. We have Kyle Peters, who is an owner, operations manager with Sexy Pizza, multiple locations in the Denver area, as well as Haley Charles, who is the general manager at Habit Carbon Hospitality Collective, also based in Denver. Thanks to all of our panelists for being here. They're running restaurants, so I know time is sensitive, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share. These conversations, 5-part series, this is part 2. Take a look back at either Facebook, YouTube from Best Served podcast and or Fireside at 5 for chat number 1. Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll be coming at you for the next 3 weeks after this with more discussions. And this is really based on something called the Paragon Pillars, an idea that I had after multiple failed attempts at being a chef owner and recognizing that the business model of restaurants is not built for the success of restaurants. There's so much status quo that is really difficult to navigate to be successful. So hats off to our crew here that is continuing to navigate and thrive in tumultuous times for sure, and we'll get into that a little bit. The Paragon Pillars are twofold outcome goals that we have that we want to try and find creative and strategic ways to accomplish. Number 1 is to maintain a 75% employee retention and satisfaction rate. And when the turnover rate is 73% and the average restaurant employee tenure is 56 days, it seems an impossibility, but we truly believe that investing in people can create longevity. And this is something we've not had in the restaurant industry. Number 2 is for restaurants, single operations at flow state on average annually to be able to maintain 19% net profit. Again, seemingly an impossibility when 7% is the industry standard. Yet what we're going to talk about a little bit is what I believe, if we look at the 100+ line items in a P&L and figure out creative ways to create partnerships, and we see the need, absolute need for communities and industries and municipalities to invest in the success of restaurants, because restaurants are one, cultural pillars. We see how important we are, the culture of any community, and economic drivers, absolutely. The strip mall and mall model where it was retail that drove commerce and restaurants happened to be there. Now restaurants are absolutely the drivers of commerce, of foot traffic. They put butts in seats at their locations, and the yoga studio and the shoe boutique. So we see the opportunity for investment in restaurants. Whew. All right. That's what we're talking about. Gabby, give us a little bit about what Fireside at 5 does. I'm very excited about this partnership and grateful for the work that you're doing, creating platforms for a multitude of voices. So tell us a little bit about Fireside at 5.
That's exactly right. You just hit the nail on the head there. So Fireside at 5 had started off in early March after some of our team members were furloughed from their prospective jobs in the hospitality industry. We really wanted to create that community for people to come together within the same industry or outside the industry to really just connect and collaborate with one another. And that in time has sort of evolved into this platform where people such as Jensen can come to us with their project ideas that they really want to share. And it's a community-based platform for collaboration and connection. So we really value that community, the collaboration, and the connection. Those 3 C's mean the most to us. And I'm just so excited for this second chat. The first chat was so successful. It was really inspiring to hear from all of those industry leaders about investing in people. And I'm just excited to be a part of this. So thank you.
I am happy for it. I think the fact that there's so many different voices that are coming online with your platform. I was a part of a chat because Tajai Cook had mentioned you all in his episode. I said, might as well check it out. I went and checked it out. And now we're doing this 5-part series. Good people connecting good people is always a smart strategy. These individuals know that. All right. I want to let each of our panelists take about 2 minutes, tell us a little bit about kind of themselves and their ethos and thinking maybe at a high level when it comes to restaurant operations. Kendra, we will start with you. Tell us a little bit, give us a little insight into Kendra Anderson and Cabana X at Bar Helix.
Sure thing. Thanks, Jensen, and nice to virtually meet everyone else. As Jensen said, I own what we are now calling Cabana X at Bar Helix, which is a summer-long pop-up that I launched. This is week 4 in lieu of my typical operation, which is called Bar Helix, a Negroni and champagne-driven cocktail bar in Rhino. We opened just about 3 years ago, and just doing something different for the summer with the whole COVID restrictions, it felt like we needed to switch it up. My background is both as a chef and a sommelier, and not so much the bar business, but I've sure got a quick lesson here in the last few years. Operations for me, really, especially lately, are about, Jensen hit the nail on the head, finding and keeping great staff, knowing that the experience is king right now, and how guests feel when they're in your space has a lot to do with how you design your operation to revolve around their comfort, particularly right now, their safety, and their feeling transported to the extent that that's possible in this very moment.
Yes, I love that. We're going to touch on that again. I highlighted a spot where you're transporting people to 3 very specific locations. I'm just going to cliffhanger that because I'm interested in style of service and some of how we market. We'll get into that. Yumi, tell us a little bit about Indochine. I just want to tell everyone, if you don't know, Yumi is the de facto mayor of Parker, Colorado, has built quite the following down there, and multiple generations of families have worked in and dined with them. So I think it's an amazing thing you've done. I'm going to give you the daps on that one for sure. You can tell us a little bit more about yourself and Indochine.
All right. Thank you. Hey, hi, everybody. Okay, so we own Indochine now for 17 years. My background is in computer science. So I was actually a geek consultant for about 16 years. And both my husband and I in technology. One day he got up and he felt like he wanted to open a pho restaurant. And this is like 17 years ago when nobody didn't know how to spell pho. So we did it. And then because I love Thai food so much, and I decided we should have a Thai restaurant. Although I don't like cooking at all, I figure, we should just open one and then, I don't know.
Sounds exactly like what you should do. Makes sense.
Exactly. So now, of course, 17 years later, because I came from a background of consulting, so I look at my restaurant every day as a consultant. I look at that saying, how do I make it better? Before COVID hit, I heard about it from California. I immediately put in place a processes and changed the whole entire dining room to make the customer feel better, to feel safe. We bought the one that hoarding all the gloves and hand sanitizers and everything like that. Huh? About 50 gallons of it. Just kidding. So we did all of that because I think that, so my mode of operation is that, yes, we like people to know, to come to us feeling that they come to a family, to a relative's place, to eat. I want my customer to come back home from vacation and come right into our place and tell us how wonderful the vacation was. So because of that, we wanted to we wanted to attend the kid graduation. We wanted to attend the college graduation. We wanted to attend the kids' weddings. So therefore, we have hired, most of our staff come from the family who eat at Indochine the last 17 years. We have had staff whom were just born when we first met their parents. So now they actually work for us and ready to go to college. So the next generation are coming in. And so that is about Indochine. When you think of Indochine, I want you to feel that is a family, that it should have great food, happen to cook for you every time you want to stop by, and that you feel safe, you feel taken care of, and that just have interesting enough of a background where I think we can exchange, different ideas, cultural activities, and things like that. That's Indochine for us. So
I told you she's the mayor of Parker. I was not joking at all. It's a rite of passage that families send their children to Yumi to get molded into the adults that they should be. I feel like I should come and work for you.
Hey, you know what? I want to share something with you real quick.
Sure.
Because you just mentioned it, so I just thought I want to do this. Here, this is the one. I'm not sure you'll be able to see it on screen, but right here is a customer this morning said, I said it. I just told Jeff today that Madison wants to work for you when she's 16. So he told her to come and see her when it's time. She's only 14 right now. Her mom had been eating at our restaurant for the last 9 years. So now, 2 years from now, I don't have to worry about hiring anybody because she's becoming in. That just happened this morning again.
I mean, that is such a big deal. You are cultivating future team members. It's the least transactional thing I've heard about the way that we hire and acquire talent. I absolutely love it. All right, Kyle, let's talk to you here for a second. Kyle, Sexy Pizza, you're opening a 4th location any day now. 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
The typical story of a restaurant is it's more difficult, costs more money, takes longer. Tell us a little bit about kind of you within Sexy Pizza, the model of Sexy Pizza, and kind of what's sexy right now.
Well, thanks, Jensen. Well, I come from a background of working back of the house mainly. So I've worked in fast food all the way to fine dining, everywhere in between, high volume turn and burn, as some of you would call it. So I've got a lot of experience, just like I said, in the back of the house. And have been, doing the Sexy Pizza thing for over a decade now. We've been in business for 12 years now. We've got, as you mentioned, Jensen, about ready to open up our 4th location, hopefully sometime later this week, or if not later next week. But as you suggested, it's always one thing after another. So we are hopefully any day now, like you said. So in the last decade plus of doing Sexy Pizza, we've certainly, I've learned a lot. It used to be where I focused on opening and closing the restaurant every day and being part of the everyday making the pizzas, making the food, serving the customers, treating our customers with respect and trying to gain that customer base. Fast forward almost a dozen years later, I'm in a bit different of a role. So I'm the operations manager. So I don't get to make the pizza and be on the line and be in the trenches with my employees as much as I would like to. So it's a bit different because now we're focusing on the operations, on how we can do things more efficiently, more effectively, and I wish I could have the same employee retention or attraction as Yumi does through her customer base and then turning them into employees. Yep. But I think that what we try to focus on is, because a pizza shop is that people think of pizza shop as their college job. It's not ever a career path for them. It's something they're doing to make money while they're educating themselves, or as a part-time gig, as a delivery driver, whatever. But for a lot of us, it is certainly a career path. And so identifying ways that we can not only attract young individuals or any individual to the pizza industry, but I think also showing them that this is not just a job, this is a career, just like any other restaurant is. And by doing that in a way where we can take care of our employees. We do a lot of benefits that are maybe untraditional for employees in the restaurant game, especially those who maybe are a bit more part-time, need flexible schedules. And that's the beauty, I think, of the restaurant industry, where you have all of these hours that are available to many different people that work different hours and have different reasons for working these hours. And so we have employees that can come in at 6 a.m., even sometimes 5 a.m. to start doing prep on the weekends. And so other employees might not leave until almost 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on the weekends as well. So a big gap there, but how do we attract and retain those individuals? And I think that's, kind of the main driven point of Sexy Pizza currently, on top of all the other efficiencies that we're always trying to work on. But it's how we attract and retain good, hardworking individuals. And I think through 100% paid health and dental insurance, paid time off for all employees, 401k, retirement plan, profit sharing, free meal plans, and then hopefully an employee ownership model of some sort coming very soon. So with all of that, I think that that's kind of, what we're focusing on now, and what I think is what's driving Sexy Pizza into the future and allowing us to continue to open, another location, continue to open more locations. So just super thankful that we can be remotely successful, especially during these times. But I think that this is certainly a good way and a model that other people can hopefully follow.
I love it. All right. Haley, let's talk to you here for a second. And thank you for being here. For everyone was watching the lead up, Lisa, founder and CEO of Habit, was going to be here, had an emergency. Haley, you jumped right in, and I appreciate that. You are a true restaurant. We figure it out. There's always a way. We just make it happen. And so now you're here to kind of represent a little bit of what the story of Habit Carbon Hospitality Collective. So Habit Donut Dispensary and Carbon Coffee. You guys, tongue twisters. I don't know how you guys describe your concepts on an ongoing basis. This is a lot of words.
Yeah, it really is. So it's most funny to me when I call the Toast, the customer support POS that we use, because I have to say the full name of the restaurant, and I have to say Habit Donut Dispensary, Carbon Cafe and Bar. And it's just like, every time I'm like, sorry, it's a really long name. But
I thought when Kendra added Cabana X at Bar Helix, that was a tongue twister. Not so much. You guys take the cake for sure. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing, your job, and then what's happening with Habit Carbon Hospitality Collective.
Yeah. So Habit Carbon is a dual branded concept. Habit Donut Dispensary, which is a donut shop, hip hop vibe, boozy donuts. So we say it's not an actual dispensary. We get that question a lot.
I know. So very Colorado.
Yeah, very Colorado. We dispense bad habits, we say. So you can get alcohol in your donuts. You can get shooters of alcohol. You can get beer, wine. You can buy cigarettes. You can buy lighters. So it's just kind of that bad vibe. That's Habit. And then the sister shop is Carbon, which is full service restaurant, full service coffee bar, full alcohol bar. So we basically do pretty much all things, pretty much anything you could want, you can find here. Same kind of thing as Kyle. We have bakers that get here at 3 a.m. and then we have bartenders that are here until 3 a.m. So it's a very multifaceted, large concept, a lot of different things going on. But I think when COVID happened, the biggest thing and change for us was just focusing on how to turn it into a really safe place for both our guests and our employees. And I think that it's something a lot of people, I feel like, don't talk about too much, which is the employees in the service industry and the way that we take care of them. Because in all other areas, hair salons, nail salons, grocery stores, the guests, the people that enter those establishments have to keep their masks on. But in the service industry, they don't have to. Once they enter our establishment and they sit down, they can take their mask off. And that's scary for our employees. So now, above all else, it's really important for us to take care of them because they're so important. No restaurant or any operation runs without them. And every single person, I think it's so important that every single person is vital to the operation. The dishwasher is just as important as the general manager. If I don't have a dishwasher, I can't run this restaurant.
That's it. The most important person in the building is the dishwasher. Their work touches every guest. Nobody else can ever say that. You guys are the best. Look, we're focused on restaurant operations for this, which is maybe more tactical, maybe more line items in a budget and P&L and like running the numbers and a tight ship. Yet every single one of you mentioned guests and mentioned employees. And I think it's a very important thing that we think about. Direct labor is a massive, massive part of a P&L. It's the cut control mentality that we have deployed for so long versus invest in growth mentality has created a vulnerability in the industry because we're not investing in our people potentially as much as we could be. So I hear that from you all. So I really, really appreciate hearing that. All right. I want to get into a few different topics. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about COGS, cost of goods sold. We're going to talk about prime costs, occupancy costs. We're going to talk about some of the product services you all are specifically using to help you become more efficient at what you do. So that's kind of the topics that we're going to dive into a little bit. Feel free, anybody watching, if there's a question, a comment, you want to get a little bit more depth out of something we're talking about, please engage with us. Be happy to weave those comments in, those questions in as it makes sense. So thank you to all of you for being here. I really appreciate the time that everybody is taking, because time is the asset for sure. Marketing, hugely important. One of the big concerns that I have is, as we start to kind of tighten the reins and circle the wagons a little bit, so to speak, on our budgets, marketing seems like a thing that we can cut. Yet so often, so many people I'm talking to, and I want to get your perspectives, are saying, actually, you probably need to double down. Now is a time that you need marketing and brand and storytelling and communication potentially more than ever, especially with some of the concerns that Haley highlighted of what's happening. How are we staying safe? How is that experience going to be different, more unique than it was before? What's the expectation? And marketing can give you a channel directly to your guests, to your customer base. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Yumi, you and just for you guys, if you can mute your microphones kind of when you're not talking, if you guys can manage that for yourselves, and if you guys start talking and we don't hear you, I'll make sure and try and unmute you. Gabby can help out with that. So what I really liked at a high level, Yumi, you said that you wanted to look at the potential to be at 5x ROI, return on investment, in marketing. I'm very interested in that, because we don't ever talk about a 5x. Like in restaurants, we don't talk about what it means to what actually your return is, because in this scenario that I just highlighted, if you're spending $2,000 right now and you're trying to rein that into $1,000, but if you track it and you spend $3,000 instead of $2,000 and you bring in 15, that's big time revenue positive. So talk about why that's important to you, and what you're doing specifically to kind of achieve hopefully 5x. What are a couple of top ticket items for you?
All right. Yeah. So like I mentioned, my background was in consulting. So I used to work with a lot of CFO. So what they taught me the most was cost and what cost is. That just only certain percentage you can cut the cost, especially, when you have, it's like state mandates and things like that. You have to pay people a certain way. And then if you want to get the best people in the industry, you need to be willing to eat that cost. So they taught me that. So they said that in order for you to be profitable, revenue-driven thinking is what you really have to think about, not cost-cutting thinking. So because of that, so then my focus right away, the minute I actually had to help my husband, I had to quit my corporate job, my high figures, 6 figures corporate job to help my husband. The first thing I did was way back in 2003, 2004, we implemented a loyalty reward program. At that time, I knew that I need to be able to communicate directly to my customer all the time. I need to be able to bring them back, because so costly to acquire them. So I want to have them all the time. So we implemented that right away. And then, of course, the minute Facebook comes about, before Facebook ads will become popular, I was able to start investing a little bit in learning how to do Facebook ads myself. I don't do boost post. I do another different way. I target. So what I found is that for every $2,000 that I spend, if I can bring in $10,000, which is we are right now, then it gives me the confidence knowing that all I need to do is just double that budget. Then I almost double my revenue, the way that my ROI is going to be, if it's 5 times. So I spend $1,000. If I bring in, even today, even I bring in $3,000, that's still 3 times return on investment. And that is so important, because that is something you can never cut cost off. Unless you can tell me. I challenge a lot of restaurant owners who talk to me. I said, tell me where you can cut the cost, that you can keep the quality of the food, keep the quality of the people, right? And then, so the way I do is I pay top dollar for my staff. And I will say that over and over again. I'll challenge anybody who put their staff up against my staff, see how much they pay.
Right, Yumi, fired up. I like it.
Because I want to do that so that my mind are not worrying about cost. My mind then worrying about revenue. I want to focus my 90% of my day, night thinking about how I'm marketing to people to bring back the regulars that come back to me, and also make things so exciting for my regular customer that they have found, oh my God, now I'm hooked. on another angle. So I don't just feed them the same thing over and over again. So marketing is all about branding. Of course, it's all about spending money. So I will tell you, before COVID, we spent about $1,100 on marketing, hard dollar marketing. Our loyalty reward program cost us $600. Our tax cost us about $100, and then a bunch of other, thing, Instagram and stuff like that. Put ad out there. But with COVID, I'm actually up my Facebook ad budget to $1,100. My text messaging, I use Slick Text, and
Slick text, right?
Slick text, yeah, to send out the text, right? And you start, having people, sign up for text, like free advertiser, whatever. So I tell you something. The difference was when my text list was 200 people. When I send out a text, it bring me, I don't know, $400 in revenue. Now my text list is 1,400 people. Every time I send one out, and now thank God I don't have to send one out. I just sent one out yesterday, and that was like after 7 weeks of not sending out anything. Then that's a $900 revenue. It's like a faucet that you can turn on and turn off. And that's something you need to invest in. And that's what I invest in all day long. I constantly thinking about how do I spend more money in marketing so that I will make 5 times what I spend, so that I will pay my staff top dollars. I don't have to worry about them leaving me. My high school kids are making, well, my dishwasher, of course, I'm like one guy making $15, but the cook, the kid that doing appetizer, like, deep fried egg roll, deep fried crab rangoon, he adds $15 also. They're 16, 17 years old. And not talking about the cook. The cooks are at $20 some, $30 some. So I want to pay the money. I told them I want to take good care of you. But my job, if you can take good care of my business, then my job is take good care of the revenue. And my revenue come in through marketing. So I use Slick Text, and I use a company in California to help me with Facebook ads. And I, of course, do a lot of Facebook Live. I go in and just say some about how am I spacing the table, how am I installing an automatic dispenser of the hand sanitizer, anything that's important to the customers. Those are part of your branding, your marketing. And we are going to be spending about $3,000 to do a video of my food, of me cooking dishes, so that we can actually use that as a creatives for our Facebook ads. Because Facebook ads likes new creative meaning, photos and videos. So the more you feed it, the more people respond. And then the more you get in more people into your thing. So my loyalty reward program now had about 600 active people. It used to be like 4,000, but they fall off. You know what I'm saying? And then Slick, the text messaging about 1,400. The Facebook Messenger is about 1,700. And my email list is about 1,800. And I use Chow now for online ordering system. And that's about 1,800 customers there as well. So I'm constantly shooting it out email to those people. So
a couple big things I want people to take away from this is text marketing. You're using Slick. There's Community. There's a few other ones. If you haven't looked at it, look at it. Please, please, please look at it. It is direct communication. And one of the things we get concerned with in the restaurant business is spamming people, right? Yet if you're bringing value at all times, if that's your goal, then you're not, because you're allowing people to consume whatever it is. If it's content, if it's sales, whatever that is. So be very mindful of the difference between the two. People are consuming so much content all the time. If you're good, if yours is better, they want it. So just be aware of that dynamic versus being transactional and just trying to sell. You got to bring value into your community. I think is important. You mentioned targeting versus boosting. I don't want to get too in the weeds with that, but make sure people are paying attention to that. There's a lot of opportunity there. And messenger advertising is, again, a direct conduit. It feels to people, they're more compelled to respond to you, just like you were a friend of theirs. And if you keep that, if you're the mayor of Parker, that's a win for you. All right. So I want to talk, this came up a few different times from you guys when we were doing a little background, kind of upselling, getting the ticket average up. I wanted to go to Kendra and I wanted to go to Haley on this. Kendra, for you, you're kind of transporting somewhere else. You're trying to be more in the escapist side. We see a lot of people going more towards comfort and some people going more towards escapist. For you, it was very escapist. Talk about that, the opportunity to drive top line revenue through this new model of both service and marketing.
Yeah, for sure. I decided right at the end of May when we were starting to think about reopening, I had a large patio that I was able to borrow for the summer. And I realized that my existing concept didn't really translate. And the food and beverage offerings that I would typically offer just didn't feel like the right set of product mix to feature on a patio, throughout the summer. So that's what inspired the pivot to the Cabana X offering, which, as you mentioned, we decided to sort of pretend we were taking people on vacation by writing food and beverage menus that matched up with what we defined as kind of, luxury loving beach and or poolside cabana type menus. And it really became a lot of fun because we ended up doing, decor. We changed our uniforms. We changed up the way we wrote menus in terms of literally how the menus are presented. I wrote a new playlist that matched every city on Spotify. So all the things. So truly when you would come through the virtual door, it is all outside, you would feel as though you were checking in at your hotel and getting ready to lounge by the pool or on the beach at any one of these 3 locations. So as far as how we drove top line revenue, I certainly have seen an increase, and I can only compare to our check average and the product mix split
Sure.
from a revenue perspective to what we used to do. So it's a bit of a weird state for me because I'm only 3 weeks of data into a brand new restaurant concept at the end of the day. But I can tell you that previously the split between food and drink was about 15% food revenue and about 85% booze revenue. Now that has become, I know, yeah, it was kind of crazy. But now that we've changed the concept and written these really thoughtful menus that offer food and drink highlighted equally, we've seen that flip to where now food is around 45% of the revenue split, and booze is only now about 60 to 65. And we've also seen the check average go up because we thoughtfully paired food and drink that were, again, designed to make you feel as though you were ordering from a menu in Negril, Jamaica, which is one of the cities we are in now, or Ibiza in Spain. So people are getting caught up in the idea of, oh, I better order this cocktail that includes Greek mastija liqueur, which I had never worked with before, would never have worked with, except for we are in Mykonos. So we made a cocktail that featured a Greek liqueur and paired it with a Greek-inspired griddled Euro melt, right? So suddenly people want that entire package, which means they're spending more than they would have when we simply offered them a list of cocktails and then some small plates.
I think I'm fascinated in that because I co-sign everything you're talking about. I think it's a really smart transition. I also am fascinated because when you're at 85% booze, your margins look good.
Margins way better.
Way better margin, yet your top line revenue is diminished. You don't have as much upside potential in the sale of any given guest. You can only sell them so many drinks, right? Versus the full experience. Was that a struggle for you then, looking at those margins and going, damn, that's a lot more money, yet it's a lot more money here?
Low, but to your point, you're sort of playing a bit of a game, right? Are you going to get the revenue through volume and a higher overall check? Which, yes, you spent more to get it, but then we've found people are sitting and staying longer, which we all know is key to revenue, is how long they spend in your dining room. And as well, because we did the destination concept, which had to be very food driven, we are seeing people come back for the new cities, where virtually before we changed our cocktail menu once every 3.5 months, somewhat seasonally for sure, but people truly are. We've seen now people, we just changed to the new cities last Friday. We've already seen people who had been in the first month for the first 3 cities going, we wanted to come back. We've been following you on social media, which, to your point, Yumi, can't say enough about how important it is to constantly be targeting your guests with not just come spend money, but what's in it for them. That's something I've really learned to focus on, is the what's in it for you message. It can't just be, I want your business, I need money, COVID is making me go broke. But we've sold them the idea, and I'd like to think it's not just the idea, I'd like to think it's the actual experience, that we're gonna give them something really special. when they come, they're going to feel actually better, happier, more relieved. And all of our restaurants do that, certainly. But for us, we've seen that, back to your question, Jensen, the revenue trade-off was worth it because I've created a repeat customer, and I know that I'm going to get that same repeat business in another few weeks when we launch the next round of cities. So it's a different way to think about it. And, then you just have to get clever, I think, with sourcing, which I know you're going to talk about, to make up for that loss in margin, pivoting from a booze-driven concept to a restaurant more type of model. But that's work for me to do, not work for my guests to worry about.
You guys are rocking my world. I love this. All right, Haley, same kind of thing. I think it was something that Lisa was talking about a little bit, of thinking about the same type of scenario where, and you mentioned it, people are taking masks on. All of a sudden, we're on a different clock, right? The expectation of how much time people are spending there, they may not be as comfortable. So we're trying to figure out ways. Clearly, Kendra highlighted that we're taking people completely away from where they are currently. For you, and you're selling vices, love. I think that's have a strong brand position, I think is always smart, no matter what that is. For you, thinking about how do you sell more donuts? How do you sell more coffee? How are you thinking about the potential to upsell? How does your menu evolve into driving that top line revenue? Oh,
yeah, it's been, I think the most interesting thing for me has just been the constant, and I'm sure everyone else will say this as well, the constant change of everything. Like, it's constantly in flux. And it's that way in the industry all the time, but especially now because, when COVID first hit, we were like, okay, how do we really drive to go? How do we make everything super good if you take it with you, how do we do things that are great to take on a walk? And because before we were Carbon is very much like coffee shop, restaurant, sit down vibe. Like, people stay here all day. They'll start with coffee, they'll switch to lunch, they'll get a cocktail, they'll be here for 10 hours, but we couldn't do that. And so we had to think about how do we make things on the fly, really, marketable for people to go, which was a lot of donuts and a lot of coffee, and food, but especially donuts, coffee, and things that people wanted to take with them. So we rolled out a new donut menu, for summer, fresh new flavors, a lot of coffee sales, a lot of marketing, a lot of letting people know that we were open, because also people thought that just everywhere was closed. And people, I feel like, were constantly confused about what was going on. Like, can we go out to eat? Can we not? Can we go inside? Can we not? What are we doing? So a ton of that. And also for us, at least, the neighborhood is super important. So we have 2 locations. There's one in 5 Points, which is super awesome. That one's more new. The Platt Street location, which is where I'm at, has been here for 5 years this summer. So August is our 5-year anniversary. And so we've been working with the other, restaurants and concepts on the block. There's the skate shop, there's the pizza shop, there's the ice cream shop, and just figuring out a lot of talking and a lot of working together instead of, like competing. The best thing to do, I think, is to work together and become a team and not try to compete, because the best thing to do is take that approach so that you can all help each other out and say, what are you doing? What's working for you? What's not working? And that's how we move forward individually, but also collectively as an industry. We have to help each other. It's so important.
Haley, I'm buying everything you're selling right now. I think it's an abundance mindset. We talk about this on the show, where we've always been so much in the scarcity and survival mode and like just getting through the day. And I completely get it. I failed at that. I could barely get through the day so many times. And so I think that that's an important thing. It's abundance mindset. The collaboration, yes, they're your competition, but they're your co-opetition. Like, you have an opportunity to lift each other up. And so Lisa mentioned that specifically, where it was like collaborating and partnering with local distillers and brewers and the skate shop, like creative ways. I love the idea of a creative way to make a donut around the skate shop for you guys to siphon superpowers across each other's brands. Super smart. Yeah. Going on a walk, you just like blew my mind. Just thinking about how people are going to interact with your product is so important. How do I what was that? I'm so fascinated in that. Donuts and coffee, take it on a walk. How does that change a donut and coffee in your mind and the way you executed on that?
Yeah. And I think especially like we're working also with the things that we can, like pipettes and things that we do the alcohol to go, super, it pushes the boundary a little bit because you have to make sure everyone's super knowledgeable about like, when do you ID? What do you not ID for? With alcohol, Kendra would understand that when they did the alcohol to go. It was a bit stressful just to be like, it felt so wrong to give someone a cocktail and be like, okay, you can take it out the door. I was just like, I don't know, this feels really wrong. But it was cool. That was interesting for us, you know, when they shut down liquor stores for one hot second. We thought we were going to be selling all the booze to all the people, which didn't end up happening. But it's just important that I think people that they can feel comfortable taking your product to other places and sharing it with their friends. We noticed a big increase in to-go donut orders, large donut orders. So, you know, people couldn't go out for their birthday party, their engagement party, their baby shower. And so they wanted something special to take to the people that they love and something unique. And we're always willing to make things specific and design them special for you. We'll put your name on it. We'll put your baby's name on it. We'll put your wedding date, you know, whatever you want. And especially in this time, little things like that make all the difference to people. Like people would be so hyped to get a dozen donuts for their baby shower. So excited. I
love it. All right, Kyle, let's get to you. The women here are setting the bar really high. You and I like need to level up a couple levels, my friend. They are killing it.
I don't know if I can meet that expectation. They're doing very well.
Let's go. Let's back a house, guys. We got to step it up. Let's go. So, Kyle, for you guys, one of the things that you said specifically that I thought was very interesting is you talked about community involvement to raise your profile. A lot of times we think of community involvement as like, all right, we'll do this charity event. We'll do this one thing. It's like this obligatory thing that you do. Yet for you, you're like proactively thinking about that as a model for raising your profile to then drive revenue. Talk about that.
Correct. So I don't know how. One of my business partners, who I know that you know, Kayvon, had an idea of just doing marketing in a very untraditional way. So instead of attacking it from all the great stuff that these other panelists have said, because it's all true, you need to be on Facebook and social media and get your brand out there and provide something for your customers that they see the value in and why you're doing it. So all that stuff is absolutely true, but I think what we found out too that's really helpful for us, and I think most importantly, it's helpful for the communities of which we live and work in, is giving back and finding ways that we can give back to those communities. So we actually have now, it started with one, now we have 5 different what we call donation pies or philanthropies, if you may. And it's the Students for Sensible Drug Policy, Harm Reduction Action Center, Colorado Youth Symphony Orchestra, and Colorado Village Collaborative. So kind of an array of different organizations that we work with. And it started with donating a percentage of every sale of one of our pizzas to an organization. And it's kind of expanded to now 5 organizations. So every time somebody buys the pizza that we've designated that matches up with the specific organization, we give a percentage of that revenue directly to that organization. And so it happens on a quarterly basis, 4 times a year, every year, no matter what. And we've promised a percentage to these organizations because we believe in what they're doing and who they support, and we want to support them supporting other people and supporting our communities. And so that's just something that we've always kind of done. But there's many other ways that we help support. We donate food to a lot of different organizations in need. During the beginning, especially of COVID-19, we donated some food to Same Cafe. We've donated some food, like literally just I went to my purveyor. I said, look, I want to order this product. And it was, some eggs and some potatoes and onions and some other stuff that were good staples, and just literally took it over and dropped it off to several different organizations, not just Same Cafe, but Greater Park Hill Neighborhood Organization we're a recipient of some of this stuff too, as we're getting into that neighborhood as well. And we always like to establish ourselves in these neighborhoods as community members, because as a restaurant, that's what you are. I think you said at the beginning, Jensen, that restaurants are now driving commerce We are bringing people to areas where they're going to go shopping, not going shopping and then out to eat. Yes. And so I think that if we can bring people in and show them that we are directly giving back to the communities of which they continue to spend their money in, and it's not going someplace else and then to some organization or some charity event that they may not even have ever heard about, it's going to organizations that they work with or know about, or they have somebody who's being helped by them or whatever it may be. I think that's ever so important these days. So I
want to touch on this because I think this is interesting. I think from a brand standpoint, from community building standpoint, from being a pillar in that community, this all makes sense. Yet for you guys have also found a clever way to also turn that into practical driving of sales, top line revenue. I want to connect the dots for people because I think sometimes it's hard. We look at that as a cost. We look at that as a cost on the P&L that we invest in, yet we don't think of it as a revenue driver. You have had that shift where that's an actual revenue driver. It's maybe more long-term. So talk about that. Like, how have you turned that into smart business versus just like, it gives you the feels and you like doing it as a company and taking care of humans, but smart business decision, get granular for us.
Well, I think that one thing that right out of the gate, if you're talking about, as the question was asked, upselling. Oh,
did he just freeze on me or did everyone lose him? Give him a second. No, I think we lost Kyle. All right, let's move on then, and we'll try and get Kyle back here in a second. So, COGS.
Am I back?
Yes, there.
Oh, sorry. I my internet connection went out momentarily. I apologize. So I guess what I was trying to say, if I can jump back into my thought process here, is we look at it from a more traditional sort of upselling thing. Somebody calls for a delivery per se, and we're trying to upsell them that dessert or that soda or that side of ranch or whatever it may be. But to take it in a different way, we can say, would you like to, when people ask, what are your top selling pizzas? We can talk about these 5 pizzas and say, well, this one gives to this organization, this one organization.
Damn.
And I'm back again. I don't know what's going on here. It was fine for the first 45 minutes, and now I'm having problems. But that being said, it's an easy upsell there, because then the customer you're talking to now feels even better by spending a little bit more money on these pizzas because they know they're going to this organization. And I would say the same thing for the employee benefits that we do as well, and explaining why our menu pricing might be a little bit higher than Pizza Hut or Papa John's or other pizza places. Is back to what Yumi said. We want to make sure our employees are getting taken care of as well. So that's where places where we can upsell, but upsell it in a way where we're talking about driving our communities for the better and not just so we make more money.
I really, really like that, because I want to talk about value, not price. Like, I don't want to get into a game ever with somebody where you're haggling on price or looking at the ticket price of that. So the fact that you are able to shift the conversation of upselling or the price that you have on a menu of the value that it brings to your team members or to your community, all in. I think it's absolutely the way that people need to be thinking about it. Value, not price. Big believer in that. All right. We went really deep on that stuff, which was really amazing. I want to go fast now. Let's just less than 30-second answers. Like, let's go quick so that we can get through a few more things, bring as much value to everybody watching. COGS, cost of goods sold. It's the big ticket items, right? It's your food costs that's really sunk into that. Sourcing has come up for everybody as pricing has gone all kinds of directions as we're thinking about the localization or the globalization of food systems. So sourcing, I want to go around the table very quickly. What's 1, 2, 3 things that you're thinking about sourcing, an ingredient that you shifted to, went somebody local versus not? Like, give us a little thinking there. Yumi, I'll start with you. We can go kind of back around the table.
Well, I know I feel guilty about saying that I actually haven't changed one thing.
Okay.
The menu, nothing.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, I still use the same vendor, the same everything. Our menu is so popular. I don't dare changing anything. If I do, I think I'm going to get murdered. So they're
I
going
like
to
it.
stay the same.
I know you're thinking about those line items. All right, Yumi, you nailed it. Good job. Not changing anything. Sourcing. Next, Kendra, for you, what's happening with sourcing? What's a couple things on your mind? Focus, areas of opportunity, places that you're going. This is hot garbage. I can't use this anymore. Where are you at?
Well, we are still working through a lot of it, Jensen, because we started writing really detailed food menus, which we'd never done. So we're still learning a bit more about the best way to find the best value on certain ingredients. So instead, I'll talk about how passionate I am, and we've always been about supporting local vendors and local businesses. I think it means a lot just as a small business owner to support my other fellow small business owners. And I also think our guests like seeing local brands that they either have heard of or would like to know more. So we work with John Hinman with Hinman's Bakeries. We've got his amazing hand pies, and they just happen to be topped with High Point Creamery ice cream. We work with Mile High Microgreens, which they are just the best people. And if you guys don't know who they are, I want you to find them, and as many other folks as we can. So that's kind of our big push.
I love it. Haley, where are you at with sourcing? I know Lisa specifically mentioned beef, pork, eggs, some of the big ticket items we've seen some horror stories on. What's happening with you all right now from a sourcing standpoint?
Big ticket items like that, if you watch the news or are aware of it, everything happening, a lot of changing in prices of beef. So basically we have to just keep a really close eye on it. When it's at a good price, buy it, make sure we go through it, run specials, things like that. Things we have to have all the time, eggs, butter, things like that. Just get the best price that you can. Sometimes I've had to run to King Soopers because it's cheaper for me to get eggs at King Soopers, and I'll do it because
you got to do.
Bottom line, you have to do what you have to do. And then same thing, we always have worked with local companies, but we try to do that now more than ever to support everyone else. We buy local beef, we buy local milk. All of our tea comes from Tico, local company. All of our beers are local. We do all of that because supporting each other, always important, but now more than ever.
Could not agree more. Kyle, for you, sourcing, what's happening with you? You're very fixed on certain items. Flour went crazy, right? So that was a big ticket item for you. Cheeses. So it's not like you can pivot and start doing, food from Ibiza. Unless there are pizzas out there. So for you, where's your head at?
Well, with soon to be 4 locations, consistency is the key across all of them. The last thing I want to hear is somebody likes this location slices better than this other location slices. They've got to be the same slice across the board. We make our dough in-house every morning, make our own sauce, shred our own cheese. So everything's got to be consistent. And if anybody's ever been a baker or at least it sounds like you kind of know in the same idea of what I'm talking about. It's very hard to keep consistent, especially with the massive fluctuation in temperature every single day here in just Denver, Colorado. So not to dive into that too much. So keeping the consistency across the board makes it hard to pivot to new item and change it up. Also, and I don't know if I'll have time to get into this, but also when we talk about controlling food costs, we use Decision Logic to control our food costs. It has recipe explosions entered in there, so we can find out how much flour we have then wasted at one location throughout an entire week that we shouldn't have wasted. I mean, we use so much flour every week, as you can imagine, that it is a big ticket item. And then cheese, I always joke that cheese is the second most expensive line item on our P&L next to labor. Labor, then cheese, because it is so very expensive and we use so much of it. So if you are in the restaurant industry, labor is by far and away the most expensive line item. And for us, no joke, we spend more on cheese than we do on any other single P&L line item, period. And so it's hard to then, I'm coming with Yumi where we haven't changed a whole lot, but we still want to support those local vendors. One, for instance, Polidori, a 3rd generation local company here in Denver who makes fantastic sausages and other pork products that you can find at your local King Soopers and such. But we like to use companies like that because just like us, they're a local Denver family-owned company, and it's great to support. I think everybody's already said that we want to support our other local businesses.
Yeah, Melody and her family are amazing. All right, with sourcing, has anybody considered cooperative purchasing? Has that come across anybody's radar yet as we're thinking about the ways that we can potentially create scale with 1 location, 2 locations? Anybody jump in if you have a little experience with that? I just want to throw it out there because if people haven't thought about it, you should be thinking about it. Anything? Anybody? Cooperative purchasing?
We have been approached and just thought about it, but haven't done any follow up with it at all whatsoever. So I have no experience with it, but certainly something that we've thought about and certainly interested in engaging with other individuals if there's an opportunity.
Okay, we'll table that for now, but that's I think a topic that there's going to need to be discussion. It's massively different, so many different motivators, so many different price points, and all that. There's a lot of challenges to it. I think it's something we're going to have to hurdle for sure. To go, wow, delivery and takeout to go, there's a lot that goes into that. I want to just start from the COGS standpoint, which this isn't necessarily part of COGS. However, I am starting to think about how much closer related your to-go containers, compostable products are to your COGS than ever before, because they are going to be a pure extension and an expectation of what goes, quote unquote, onto the plate, so to speak. So I'm very fascinated in that. To-go containers. Well, Kendra, let's jump to you real quick, because I know that was like, I think you said it several times.
So brutal.
Brutal.
I don't know where to start, but I'll just say that it's a massive problem as far as, first of all, finding products that align with my value set, which happens to be totally must be compostable, totally must be presentation worthy to the guest, and actually work with the food we're packing in it. But as soon as you find that, you might purchase it and then find it's out of stock. Yeah. There's really no good way to find it discounted. So you're just at the mercy of whatever's there that matches what you need. It's a nightmare. And then don't forget, when you buy what you think you need, your takeout volume is going to do whatever it wants to do. I'm not sure where everyone else has been, but we went from obviously all takeout to almost no takeout in a few weeks. And just when we had gotten a line on the items we were going to use, bought a shit ton of them.
Yep.
Now it's sitting there. So it's rough. If anyone has great thoughts and suggestions, I am all ears.
Yeah, Haley, I saw you nodding a lot. Where's your head at? What's happening? To-go containers. I mean, I'm sure you're going through a lot of to-go cups for coffee.
Yeah.
Donuts.
We have our cost of paper goods is just exorbitant at this point. But it is what it is, and you have to adapt. And we are also in the same kind of boat as Kendra, wanting to find eco-friendly things that are compostable, things that are good for the environment. And that's extremely difficult. Same with gloves and masks and hand sanitizer. I literally
has it all.
What the heck? I had my mother send me hand sanitizer from Kansas because I could not find any here.
Come on.
Really challenging to open and be available and do everything you can do for the guests and your employees when you can't get what you need. And so that's for sure been the biggest challenge. We've adapted a lot of grocery store trips, a lot of scrambling, lots of changing, lots of research. It's been a challenge. I never thought that paper goods would be such a pain in my ass, but
here it is. Yeah, I completely agree.
So I just want to jump in really quick, because you said that, Jensen, non-food cost or paper goods are not part of your traditional COGS. But for a business that does 55% of their revenue in delivery, it is a COGS line item for us. Non-food purchases is about almost 5%, 4.75% of our P&L, and we spend a buttload on to-go materials. So much so that I work to-go materials into our food costs to each item, to each menu item, because at our Capitol Hill location, I would say about 10% of our revenue is actually dine-in. We don't even have actual plates that we wash in that location because there's no reason to have it. There's no bus station that we can put it in. So we have everything, to-go materials at all times. And that's on top of catering to-go items and everything else that we need to keep in stock as well. So for us, it's always been there. And I think to take it a step further for a business where we do so much to-go stuff that it is imperative that we think about it from a compostable, recyclable standpoint. We went through all of those changes last year and making sure that we were at compostable and recyclable materials across the board. We went from using straws to not having any straws in our locations and going to sippy cup lids. compostable clamshells, and everything that we possibly could to be at least recyclable, if not compostable. And that is a significant increase in our non-food category when it comes to costs. Just going from a, I hate to say it, but old school foam containers and then upgrading to something that we need to do for the environment. It is a significant increase in cost, especially when it's such a big hit to our P&L.
All right. I want to get rolling. I want to just touch on a couple things that I'm just going to throw out there. I really need restaurants, everybody, to be thinking about your prime costs, understanding where those numbers need to be. 65% is kind of the target number that there's been. This group, everywhere from 50 to 70%. One of the things I want people thinking about when it comes to prime costs is that we have put ourselves in a kind of a dire situation where we spent so much time trying to cut and control those prime costs versus the investment. And we also did a lot of tying like junior and upper level management to bonuses that we started to create a dynamic where we were promoting not the good behaviors that it was built for, but bad behaviors in a way of manipulating numbers. So I want you to be very aware of understanding your prime costs. Operating costs. We're going to talk about real estate very specifically. Operating costs, 6 to 10% are traditional numbers. You have to be shredding apart that part, especially the leverage that you have. I'm very interested, just kind of anybody renegotiating leases right now. I'm very interested in that.
No, because we got a really good lease. We were there 10 years, and then we just signed another 10 a year before. And then because I did that, it already reduced like $500 a month. And we're in a premium building. And so with great services and great locations. So I don't even bother. I was about to do that, but because our revenue is like 20% to 28% more than than previous year. So I don't want to be greedy. I literally called up the landlord and said, I am not asking for any kind of lease negotiation. All I ask for is starting August, if you could help me with my marketing budget, because by then many restaurants would be opening full, hopefully dine-in. So there'd be a lot more competition and I would need more money even to be in front of more people. So that's all I asked them and they agreed.
I like that. Creating partnerships versus having vendors, I think is an important model of shifting the mindset. For Haley, Kendra, Kyle, any renegotiating leases as an opportunity to try to
not yet
that cost down? Okay.
We just kind of went through it when we were with our new location and a new rebuild of complete renovation, not renovation, but a new build of a location. So, yeah, I mean, but we traditionally for all of our locations were much lower. But again, when you have your dining room is the city of Denver, we can keep our occupational costs down, our rent costs down, just because we have a smaller dining room, a smaller footprint, because then we're delivering to what I call our tables.
Interesting topic on
had to do that.
Yeah, on the 28th of this month, Tuesday, 5 p.m., come back for where we're talking real estate, because there's some opportunities now to renegotiate leases like never before. Clauses like force majeure, act of God, that does not allow for abatement of rent as part of that model, even though you'd hope so. It's not almost ever been that. There's an opportunity for that because, again, restaurants are the drivers of commerce, and I think that's being recognized right now. The vulnerability of the real estate market is being exposed a little bit, as is the restaurant industry. So I think that's important. I want to just take real quick. I know everyone's got to go. You mentioned Decision Logic. You're also, Kyle, using Talent Reef for job posting, Open Dining for online ordering platform. Any other services, product, technology, 1, 2, 3 that you guys just want to throw the names out there, because we're going to capture that and try and send that out to people so they have some more resources. Anybody got anything they're using I
am implementing Jock, which is a online waiter apps where you QR code a table and that they can order it on their phone and directly go to the waiter. So then the waiter doesn't have to. This is going to be for Haley. This is going to be stopping a lot more contact from server to the customers. So they don't have to wait there standing around chit-chatting with the customer before they put in an order. They can actually use their own phone, and then our menu it look better than a PDF file. It actually, you can expand the picture, can add modifier. Good. And then after you put in your cart and then you hit send to waiter, it will send directly to the waiter. They put in the system, bring out the food, they want to bill, said ready for a bill, send the bill out. So that's what I'm implementing.
Spell it. You said what is
Jaac,
it?
it's Jaac.
Awesome. We also had Raj Suri, who's the founder of Presto, doing contactless dining as well. Anything else, Haley? Anything you're utilizing?
I have a couple. I think you might have mentioned it, but we use RSI, Restaurant Solutions, which is super great for all kinds of reporting, payroll, all that stuff. Been really helpful throughout this time. And then Toast. So Toast is our POS. They have a contactless pay option, which is awesome. We can just print the ticket, give it to the table. They can QR code with their phone, pay, tip, everything right there. No pins, none of that stuff. Super great.
Kendra, anything you like? And then we'll wrap, people.
We use Toast as well. It's been great. We're also using QR codes for table side, not virtual waiter, but to minimize contact. That's been really great.
I love it. I appreciate all of you. Let you guys get on. You guys can start to get out of here. I'm going to wrap up with the audience a little bit. So thank you, chat. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Chat 2 is in the books here, and chat 1, again, go back and check out chat 1 from last week. You can find it on the Best Served Podcast Facebook or YouTube page, as well as Fireside at 5 Facebook and YouTube pages. And really great conversation about creatively investing in people. Next week, the 21st, Tuesday, July 21st, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Once again, we're going to be talking the supply chain, which is a very important conversation. We touched on sourcing a little bit. We're going to go deeper down that rabbit hole, talking to some great minds in that space, from directly on the ranch to the distribution side, to the restaurant side, and technology, how that might fuel that as well. The 28th of July, we're going to be talking real estate, as I mentioned before, and everything from the restaurant side, the broker side, the potential to renegotiate leases on the attorney side, and then also on the kind of landlord real estate development side. So get the whole breadth. And finally, we will wrap up on August. Help me out here, Gabby. What's the August date? 4th? August 4th, Tuesday, August 4th, with talking about legislature and how we can be supported. Again, the investment. For me, the model of Paragon Pillars is all about the investment. It's about finding all of the levers that we need to move up and down and inside and out to get to that 19% net profit. If you invest more in compostable, because that's important to you and that is your decision as your business, amazing decision, by the way, yet not every business is going to make that decision. You now are moving a lever of the investment into go products up. Somewhere in your whole 112 line item P&L, there is a company, a service that now you need to find an opportunity to shift down. When I think about 19% net profit and any moment where you are forecasting and you're going to fall 3% short, imagine the communication infrastructure that you could go to your ecosystem of stakeholders of all 112, 117, 250 entities that you interact with and say, team, I need you more than ever. We're going to fall 3% short. We all know that getting to 19% is what's important for the sustainability, for the equitability, profitability, and sustainability of our industry. And we know how important our industry is to the community and the commerce. I'm fired up, people. I think you can have a different type of conversation where somebody can find 0.25%, 0.5%, 1%, 2% here and say, I got you right now. Let's find a way then to reinvest that money wherever it needs to be later, versus transactionally trying to force somebody into a situation that may not be best for them. And you're trying to have the leverage. And that is always a buyer's and seller's real estate market and is not good for the sustainability of restaurants. It's been exposed. That's it. That's all I got for you. I appreciate you guys. Gabby, thank you so much for lots of comments, lots happening. Feeling really good about this series and appreciate you all for being a part of it. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Cheers.